Let's Play Families. Hello everyone and welcome back to Joy's Creative Finger. This is episode 4 for Let's Play Families. Chrissy is pregnant, as I have mentioned before, and she's getting on. She's a bit tired most of the time, quite sleepy. She's not really engaging as you'd expect her to be. But the head of the household, Jeffrey, has a lot on his mind. A few things happened in the last episode. If you haven't watched it, go to the playlist and see what happened, and we're going to tackle a few of those issues in this episode. So it's first thing in the morning and he has a few things to do. He's going to get himself a nice cup of tea. His son is already outside. He was playing outside a few moments ago. I know it's early, but that's what he went to do. I can see he's finished, so I'm just getting him to sit down there. And perhaps I can get Daddy to have a cup of tea, a nice hot cup of tea. And then we are going to have a couple of things take place today in the household. He has to attend court because of what happened with his son 3 months ago, and he has to take his son away on a camping trip, which he had promised him a little while back, and he thought this would be the right time to do that. Now, usually, Chrissy would be down here whipping up something delicious, perhaps some pancakes and some fruit salad with some yogurt in it. But with this pregnancy, early mornings are certainly not her thing, and so Jeffrey has had to step up to the plate and, basically take over for the early mornings to make a cup of tea for his son and maybe a quick sandwich and such. Let's get them to cuddle and basically just give him some sort of reassurance, because it's new for Dennis to find himself waking up in the morning and his mom is not as functional as she used to be. Think about it. He's the first child, so he's never known his mum to not be as active and present. So basically things are changing, and they're going to change even further when a baby arrives. So Daddy has a lot to do to fill in the gap or the void that the arrival of this child is creating. But trust me, it's no longer going to be a void. This house is going to be full. Let's get Dennis out to the back part of the house. He's quite excited that his father had set up this basketball hoop here for him to play around with. Obviously, they've cleared out all the games and fun activities that were out here when he had his barbecue with his friends. So, of course, he's quite excited to come out here and play. And basically, he's considering asking Dennis a couple of questions about that night, because they've never spoken about it. I mean, they were absolutely mortified. And the fact is, he's just not been able to start with a real question, and it's just never happened. So I think he's just basically going to give up asking any questions whatsoever, get a good bath, leave Chrissy in bed with a beautiful kiss on the cheek, and head on out to court and face the situation head on. The court is now in session, and Greg, the sitter's boyfriend, is up on the stand ready for questioning. Jeffrey is being represented by very fine counsel sitting here, and we have the state provide counsel for the defendant. Presiding over the case is Judge Deborah McCauley. The prosecution marches forward and declares that Greg is nothing but a sick pedophile who was, thank goodness, stopped in his tracks by a hands-on father who struck him in the face in self-defense of a minor. The defense presents alternative facts. Dennis was getting anxious and wanted to go out and find the nanny. He had only put on his shoes and his bottom outgoing trousers and was just about to put on his jacket when Gregory spotted him getting dressed and said,
"Take them off.
Leave me alone.
It's no big deal.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to take it off.
Take them off.
I'm going to tell my dad."
The defense argued that Gregory was only trying to stop this little boy from wandering out into the street before he got assaulted by the father.
Order!
Order in the court.
The defense rests. The evidence is in, and Judge Deborah Macaulay realizes that this was just a concerned father who happened to see a complete stranger in his house, and he acted as any father would. The case was thrown out. It appears that Gregory had assaulted an innocent man who was merely protecting his son from going out into the streets. Chrissy is now in her second trimester and she's about to go through a big change. Let's see what's going on. Yes! Out with the tiny waist and in with the big belly bump. Well, she's going to need some new clothes. And of course, her dear friend, her dear bestie, Lillian, is going to set her up.
With web and with Ufla, walk a doodle, Nerk saw, Berkey Nerk, Nerk Taza, see, Round Round, Protege, Duba Duba, Purple and with Ufla, Blues Boo.
I have the best outfits for you.
Well, all right. I'll try a couple on.
And with Ufla, Blues Boo.
You know, I am hoping for some new line of glamorous maternity wear to be released into the game. I had this thumbnail for the short film Cinderella that I put out a little while ago, and in the thumbnail I had photoshopped onto her this beautiful maternity dress. I'm wishing for something like that in the game so that my pregnant Sims can look fabulous.
Nerk Taza. He. Row. Protege. Stui Woo. Bussy.
So Chrissy is done here and she has about 3 of these beautiful outfits and some pajamas too. And it's time for her to head off home. She's going to get heavier and heavier. And the waddle in this mode is hilarious. Okay. Now, you might remember that Jeffrey is meant to take his son out for a camping night out. That's going to happen any minute now, but he's just met his wife on his way out with his son, and she looks fabulous. That belly bump has become all the more obvious, and he's just become this giddy child around her. Anyway, he's given her a few instructions about the alarm system to the house as he heads out just for the one night with the little boy. And now he's thinking, where's Dennis? He was just sat right there. Well, Chrissy is now in day 4 and her support tasks can't really be completed in AR mode, but she has to read a magazine, so I'm going to get her to read a magazine here anyway. In the meantime, she is busy, getting my whole town functioning to get this pregnancy to fruition. Look at that. And the reason that I am going for the 9-day pregnancy is because I need to save up some tokens for the pregnancy store. So you have to imagine that she's on her way now to sit down and read a magazine and look at some of the items that she would like to use to furnish the nursery. So this is why she's on the 9-day program, because I need those tokens. However, she won't be reading for very long. She's going to swap into some cozy pajamas and head into the kitchen for some leftovers. I mean, what else has a pregnant lady got to do on a cozy night like this but to stuff her face full while the boys are out? I support you 100%, Chrissy, but not that cheese. So they can eat cupcakes, they can have apples, and these are part of some of the requirements in the to-do list for the pregnant sim. They get to eat cupcakes, they can eat a tomato, which I would assume that she picked out of the fridge, but I'm adding to her list by giving her some lovely shakes. You have to assume that Jeffrey probably had these prepared before he set out, just to make sure that she's well looked after. Don't get it wrong, he treats her quite nicely, even though he has a secret life. Look at that bump, look at those shoes. I have to say, this is my favorite outfit in the pajama collection for the pregnant Sims. I think it's quite nice. And she actually does look like she has a glow. Let's just come around this way and have a look at her face. I think this is one of my most beautiful Sims ever. Gosh, look at that. So I'm going to stop you now, Chrissy. We need you to also have a cupcake. We want to make sure you're well fed, and then we're going to get you to sleep. And then we're going to go and check in on Dennis and Jeffrey at the campsite. I really wish that they could cook in this mode, even though we don't get any XP from it. It would have been nice just for the actions. Well, let me get her to have a nap. You have to imagine that she was going to work her way upstairs and go to bed. But, you know, she's just basically gotten so tired and thought to herself, well, I'm just going to sit down here and get some rest. And then, of course, she's fallen asleep. And maybe this is where she falls asleep for the entire night. Poor thing.
Got your bead?
Subu.
Garrett Blatt?
So finally, father and son are having some good quality time spent together, and Jeffrey has a moment to have a chat with Dennis about what happened now that he does have a clearer picture and what happened on the night. So he in some way tries to advise Dennis that violence isn't really the answer to any shocking situation. It's important to have a conversation first, you know, before reacting, if at all you should. Well, not only is Dennis warming up to the hot coals, but he's also warming up to his father, and he opens up about the fact that he would rather spend more time with them instead of being left with, you know, babysitters and such. Well, it's time for him to play in the tree house. Remember the tree house? I love this structure. It's fantastic, and it goes so nicely in the scenery. Dennis would absolutely love to stay here for another couple of days, but his dad is quite preoccupied with a lot on his mind, you know. Well, it's getting dark, and Dennis and his dad are going to have to turn in for the night. I'm going to get him into the blue sleeping bag. They're not going to be in the tents. The weather isn't that bad, I'd like to say. And Dad is going to have the camouflage sleeping bag on the side here. I don't know that he'll get a lot of sleep, though, considering how busy he is in his mind. You know, he's very unsettled, and he's got a few things he has to deal with and come to terms with. The next day, when Jeffrey returned back to the school to train some of the students in the black belt team, he was met by the principal and was informed that he would be suspended because it turns out he had assaulted an innocent man, and being that he trains children in combat, they feel that he acted a little bit too quickly and might not be a suitable teacher for the kids. Dennis obviously had a lovely time with his dad yesterday, and he's just nipped up to his office to see if he's there. But father isn't back yet, so he's decided to listen to some music and wait for his dad just before he goes to bed, maybe for a cuddle. However, as he waits, his ears are pumping away with the music, and he doesn't hear the phone ring.
Hello?
I thought I would see you tonight.
Lillian, I meant to call you back. I can't come over tonight. No, I do really want to see you. You really make me smile. I've got a lot going on. Lillian, but I just can't come over tonight. I'm really sorry. I love you.
Daddy?